Welcome to Crest, where we focus on fundamentals for directional bias and technicals for entries. And what we've got this week is quite interesting. You have the inflation data from NZD. We have GDP and rate decision from China, but not too much of an importance to us. We have the inflation data from CAD on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we have inflation from the pound, which the market is already pricing in 4% from 3.8. So that's pound strength in a sense. We also have retail sales. We have the PMIs, which is quite important, and the CPI. They said is tentative, but it was also said that it will be released. So we are hoping for that. And that's all for the macroeconomics ahead. Going to the Dixie as we know it, what we do have here is we'll be looking at bullish scenario on the Dixie because we are reacting from a monthly demand. But while going down here, as we can see, we have this breakout structure here. So this is our range. We've gone into this our range and we are still bullish in this range. So potentially if we want to short, we'll see a push here and not close above before we can see a break. But for now, we are kind of short-term bullish on the Dixie, and if we could have this breakthrough, then we just know Dixie is already changing to the upside. And for this reason, I'll look at my GU, which is one of my setups for the week. We already know I'm bearish on GU on the weekly time frame. On the daily, what we see, this is our break here. This was our break, so this is the range we are playing in, and then we have this internal range here. So I expect a push to the downside, so I'm already in on these shots. The only issue is this is a doji, and on Monday we should see a bearish candle. But if we should start seeing price heading up to this point, then I'm shorting from this other end. Why? Because this would now be this internal leg. This will be an internal leg for this our range that we are working on. Sorry, working with. So we would like to see a short from here to continue down. That's just what I'm saying. Worst case scenario, we look to short from up here. And NU is one of those pairs I'm also working with. As we can see, I've been looking at shorts and shorts. So last week I expected price to head to this supply and then drop. Unfortunately, there was nothing like that. So we dropped 2 days and we've been ranging for this couple of days. Now, if there should be a short, there would be one to this point. But looking at the previous candle, it's a bearish pin bar in a bearish trend. Sorry, bullish pin bar in a bearish trend. So I expect a push of price quite just a little bit. But looking at this range, let's make it this deeper. Looking at this range particularly, then we would be expecting price to continue lower, but to push price higher. That's what we'll be seeing. It's just one of those things. Um, this is what might happen now. This is the point that broke this other structure. So price might potentially head up here. Then we can see a short. So this is what I'll be looking out for NZD USD. Now the USD card is quite interesting. So this is our range. This is the range we've been playing with. So this all this price action is internal. If we see price push deeper, then we might look for longs. Going to our daily time frame. Now let me clear this a little bit. On the daily time frame, what we do have is This is a demand, a D1 demand, and price is already at this D1 demand. We expect price to go higher. But a scenario that this breaks, it will react from this point to the upside, but definitely, sorry with the word definitely, but it most likely will go to the downside. Now, the USD Swiss is quite an interesting one because this is almost the same thing as the Dixie. Remember, we are in this range, we are in a downtrend here. It's quite clear, and I was expecting price to come to this demand, sorry, so supply, of which it has grabbed liquidity, which was very okay, and this was also a high, and then this was a low. So was expecting price to drop to this point into that, and it has broken that point. So this was a very good shot, if you ask me, last week, which was sorry, earlier this week, which was fantastic. You can see the shots from there, taking it down to this point, but then it broke this structure. So what are we expecting? Now we are in this new range. This is the range we are working with. It's quite simple. So, or anything here is internal. Where do you think would be the best point to look for longs? Sorry, to look for shorts. To be at this area of demand, sorry, supply. And we also have an internal H4 supply there, which is price is already close to it. As we can see, why is this important? Because this was the area that actually trapped a lot of buyers at first. Yes, it broke structure internally. You can look at this on your 1 hour time frame. So this was a break of structure, and then a lot of people wanted to buy on retest. So this was the range, and it failed. So I believe this should hold a little bit. So if it should bring price down to this point, that would be a good shot for intraday day traders. UJ. So what we've got is fantastic. We've been looking to take price higher to the point which I marked. Looking at this, we're still playing in this range, a new range here. So this is the range we are playing with. I'm expecting price to come to a demand. Sorry about the daily charts, but this demand is where I expect price to head to. That is where I expect price to come to, but then price is reacting at this support area. Now, if this is where price is reacting from, what is the possibility? That is like a breaker block. What is the possibility of price heading as high as this? And it is there, but the most important thing is looking at the reaction we will be getting from this point, from that supply. If you go to your 4 hours, you would see that that's the supply zone. Now, this gap, I believe it has to be filled in some sense. So price should head lower, and it would not be bad if we could see something of this nature. EN is still weak. That's non-negotiable. So looking at AUD USD, looking at this, I was looking too long, but let's look at the chart. We're still in a bullish range on this time frame, in this angle. On this other end, if you look at it this way, it is bearish. So I'm bullish to be bearish or bearish to be bullish, depending on how the market. So I talked about this range. That's a weekly supply. Looking at it from a D1 time frame, we have a D1 supply in here that was already mitigated. So there is nothing inside that point. So the main imbalance is somewhere here. And if we look at it from the 4 hours, this is a high probability supply area. This is but also it sits as a liquidity for this supply. Why? Because this reacted from this supply, but nothing reacted on this supply. So that's just the issue with this setup. But if you can take your time, look for longs, because one, we add this is lower low, this is a lower high, and then this is a lower low area. Now this lower low is reacting from a higher time frame demand. So there's a higher probability of price heading up to this point. So if you can participate, and on the 1 hour time frame, what happened is we were supposed to go lower, but it did not break structure to the downside. It stopped here, broke structure here to the upside. Now we are in that range. Potentially, if we could see a little push high coming back, then we might just push this price a little bit to the upside. And that's what we have for AU. And that's all I have for the USD pairs. The Euro USD is not interesting to me, as we can see. Expected price to go to our weekly supply, which it has mitigated. This is fantastic. So we are reacting from there, and EU is actually bullish. So if price could continue to the downside, we have to participate in that because we are bearish. Going to the 4 hours, this was a buy opportunity for me, but let me just clear this a little bit. So price has reacted at my supply area. So if this supply, remember there was this imbalance I talked about, that price potentially should get in. We got there. Now this is a bullish leg on the 4 hours. Definitely M15 breakout structure, which I did not participate in this. I preferred the GU. And as you can see, we have this breakout structure here. We have that. We have this. So this is the range we are playing in with. So coming on Monday, you just see a continuation to the downside from this angle. But it will also make sense if we could have something like this break, then drop, then you know this will be a higher probability because it has grabbed liquidity. Then internally you can short from here. That's just what we are looking out for EU. And now we can look at the Aussie pairs, and I'm more interested in Aussie Swiss. Looking at this on the weekly time frame, the analysis last week played out to perfection, which this was the 4 hours. So I was expecting price to hit higher, as I called it. So this was a re-entry for me. And now this week, looking at it from the weekly, it's a doji. Looking at it from a daily time frame, we have our supply here. That's our supply. So we expect price to bounce off that supply and go to the downside. We have the AJ. So I know my chart is a little bit messy. Bear with me. Looking at this time frame, price is actually reacting from this weekly supply. Now we have this range that we've been looking at on the daily time frame. This, we talked about it, and now this was the range which has now been broken. So reacting from this is a supply. What about price pushing to the upside? This was the zone we marked for price to a key level for price to react from, but we did not participate in this. So if this is a breakout structure, we are looking for price to bounce off somewhere and go down. This, I believe, should still be a continuation. If this is our range, then this should be a continuation. So we should short from this supply. I believe it should be that supply is a D1 supply, as you can see. So it's almost the same as the Aussie Swiss. Well, this should be a good area of short, but if you want to be safe, you can keep your stop loss up here now. But this would be a confirmation. I would love to use confirmation entry on this. Why? Because the yen is still weak. This would be one of the setups if you can look at it from this angle. So the yen is still very weak, because we might equally just see price push higher up to 99,900. And on the card yen is the next one. Okay, so first of all, BTC, as you can see, it has dropped exactly from where we talked about it should drop from. I'm still expecting it to continue to the upside. Nothing much, it's just the same thing. Looking at it from the daily time frame, I don't expect price to go higher, but we should see a pullback to probably 109 area. And that's all for what I have. The card here, and this is what I'm seeing. We are bullish already, and we've been shorting it due to card weakness, and prices at this came to this our demand, our daily demand, right? So let me clear some of this. These are daily demand. We've been shorting. Looking at it from a weekly time frame, that was a weekly bearish bullish candle, but the bearish pressure was there. So we've reacted from here. We are looking to long. We are looking to take this to the upside. We've been shorting it quite vigorously. So we want to take this to the upside. The only thing is that you have to wait for better confirmation. So if we could have a break of structure here, then we can continue to take this price to the upside. You shouldn't rush to get into it, but this is just what I see on the card yen. And then what we then have is the euro card. On the euro side of things, because I'm a little bit skeptical on euro strength. Now look at this, we're bullish, and the setup I gave out is playing out to perfection, and we are good. Looking at this, we're bearish. This is our range. Let me clear everything. All right, so this is our range. This is where we're looking out for price to come back this demand. If you look at it, marking this, we still have about 100 pips to the downside. Now, how would you participate in this? Looking at it from the 4 hours, we already have a break of structure and we have a supply. So this is the break of structure we do have from here. So this, I believe we should have a short from this point down to at least this point. Now it's not as black and white as it is. The market might just do whatever it does. But this is what we're looking out for next week. And then finally on the euro pair we have the pound Swiss, euro Swiss. It was fantastic last week. So I believe it should still continue to the downside. This is a bearish candle on and a bearish leg. Looking at it from a daily time frame, look at this. We still expect a push to the downside. Remember, this we were looking for price to continue to the upside, right? And then it failed and it continued to the downside. Now we now have this as our range. So a little internal movement, and then we might see price going back higher that way. So we go to our 4 hours, and what we do have is we've been bearish. So this is the last range we have. I expect price to just go a little bit higher, and then we can short. We have imbalance there and we have this supply here. So that's what we look out for the yen, for the euro. So finally we have the euro entity. Let's look at it this way. We are still bullish, very very bullish. Going to the daily time frame, we are looking at a D1 demand, but this is not my kind of demand. So I expect price to come to this 2.015 area. It should be our short area, long area. So if we should have a short to this point, then definitely look for longs to that other end, to the top. And the pound card, this is where I look for longs. If they should be longs, because this is a high, this was our range, and then finally we have this range broken. Remember this graph of liquidity, I was expecting longs from these two demands here. Unfortunately it dropped liquidity, but it got in somewhere here. If you go to your 4 hours, you will see a zone. This was the break of structure, so this was the zone we talked about, and this was perfect move to the upside. So now this is an internal break of structure, expecting price to push higher and then come to this point. Remember, this was a point, I believe this shorts trapped a lot of sellers. So this is a perfect demand area. Price should hold at least. Going to the pound Swiss. Now the Swiss is strong, quite strong. On the weekly time frame, we are bearish on this guy. Looking at it from a daily time frame, we just broke this. And this is a massive candle. But if this candle is going to be filled, then this is a D1 supply. And you can look at it from your 4 hours or your 1 hour and identify your zone to short. Although this is our range, so I believe whatever we have should be between these points and this. So we can have our shorts from there, and then we look at the GJ. So what I have on GJ is quite various. Price is reacting from a supply zone, and we are bullish from the look of things in this perspective. Going to the G1 time frame, this was our range, so we broke that structure. So this is our range, and price is reacting from here, but this imbalance is not filled. This is a downtrend here on the 4 hours. If you look at it from the 4 hours, so we have the supply here. Is it possible for price to take this down? Of course, this is what we will just work with because of this is order flow, just following market structure, no big deal about it. And then GN on the weekly is bullish, on the daily is bullish, and I expect price to go higher to this 2.364843 area. On the daily, this is what we have. But also remember, this is a range here on this on the 4 hours. This is a range. So is it possible for price to head higher before dropping, or will it drop to this point before we can go up? And we have a D1 demand there. So looking at it from the 4 hours time frame, what we can see is this is an internal range. Internally, this is what we will be working with. So this closed here. Can we have this as the liquidity, and we can just look for longs from this point? Of course we can, but if we should have a breakout structure, we just know that direct the price is going to come to this 2.31 area, and then we can now move to NZD card, which was a nice one for last week. Also, we are bearish. Of course, this is our range. This is the range, and we've been playing internal movement to the downside. We had the first liquidity grab here that to the downside. So this is a powerful area of shorts for us if price ever gets up there. So this is a powerful supply area. But for now, we are focused with what we have here. This is a breakout structure. This also went to the upside. I expected price to go as high as this point, but unfortunately it dropped, and now we are this D1 supply. Market has been ranging, and now it mitigated that D1 supply. I expected some liquidity grab here, yes. So it did not happen. I had to come in somewhere here on 15 minutes. Yes. Okay, so this was the area of supply we had. Yes, because this was our range. As we can see, this was the first range area. Then we had, I believe this was what I call the range. It came in, and then we had this, and finally this is what I looked at. It failed to close above, so this was supposed to be my short area to take it, and now we have this. So is this going to be a supply? We can just be continue shorting it. This is just market structure. And then we have the NZD Swiss. So this is what was a good one, a good week. We had this doji bearish candle on NZD Swiss. Looking at this is already a structure. Our structure is already, sorry about that. So is this going to be a continuation, or is price going to go higher to short? If it's a continuation, then I don't expect price to go more than this point. I know there's a D1 supply up there, but look at this very well. This is internal structure. And finally we have this one. So I believe price should just bounce off from here. But if we should break, then we know for sure price is coming as high as this point. There are no two ways about it. So that's all for currency pairs, and we can look at gold, silver. Silver is definitely not my kind of setup. It's too high. Gold is also the same. And then USD China, not interested. Oil, we've been looking at oil shorts for quite some time. So this is the range we are playing with. So I expect oil to continue to the downside from here. The USD China, let me show you something. We've been bullish on USD China. Market failed to close above here, right? And now it has taken this point as liquidity grabbed everything, came into this demand. So if we are looking at this as a range to short, right? If we are looking at this as a range to short, and then there should be a short from here. But if you want to long it, you can just look for your internal 15 mix structure to take the buys to this point, and then that ends it. Nothing much. If price should go higher, then I expect price to get to this point and this point. So these are they will be very powerful short areas. Let's just have a nice trading week.